Good evening. Welcome to ITV News and Calendar on Friday, December the 18th, the day that deep coal mining in the UK was consigned to the history books.
We're live at Kellingley Colliery, the big K in North Yorkshire, where just 5 hours ago the last miners in the country came back to the surface and walked out of the pit cage behind us. It was the end of an 8-hour shift, the end of their jobs, the end of a way of life and the end of the industry.
Well, tonight we've got a special programme for you, marking what has been a momentous day. There were tears when the men who spent their lives underground came back up for the final time after machinery on the coalface stopped forever.
The building up to this and now it's going to end has been frightening. I've been scared.
We'll look at the communities which have been devastated over the years and speak to the politician who sounded the death knell for the industry more than 2 decades ago.
And they booked it a year ago, never knowing the significance of the day. Where were the pitmen of the past as they gather for an emotional Kellingley Christmas lunch?
All that's to come, but we start with events here at the pit today, where around 60 men arrived at around 5:30 this morning for the day shift and the 90-minute journey underground just to get to the coalface.
Well, they've been building up for this day for 18 months after UK Coal announced that the pit was to shut.
Last month, our correspondent David Hurst was given access to Big K, and he was back today as the men came off their final shift, marking the end of an era.
At exactly 12:45, the day shift emerged from underground, and these Kellingley miners walked away for the last time. On a day, deep coal mining in the UK came to an end.
What was it like down there today?
You can tell without me talking, can't you? 38 years when you're at one place, you're working with the same people, more or less. You become attached to people, you become attached to the place, you feel a duty to look after them.
Earlier, underground, they'd had to get on with a job on a day many had been dreading, until the final lumps of coal had been sheared.
The last piece of coal at the Kellingley Colliery and the last deep mine dig in the country. That will be done in the Tap House Museum. They are both.
What's it like for you, having brought that up home?
It's a great privilege. I was very fortunate to be on the last shift.
There was lots of banter as they walked from the pit cage to the lamp room. This is what many will miss, the daily camaraderie. For all of them, it was a day of mixed emotions.
I've lost my livelihood and everything, so but it's a sombre mood, obviously.
Devastated. It's just been a proud man to be a mine all my life. Just absolutely gutted.
I can remember the exact words my training officer said when I signed on. He says, "You'll have a job for life here, son."
And how do you feel today?
A bit devastated, a bit upset about it, but life goes on. We've got to go forward and carry on, same as everybody else has done before us.
What's it been like down there today?
Weird. Tried his best to keep it open. None of the government's been interested, whether it be Labour or Conservatives. They didn't want coal.
And many of them are tonight asking how it came to this, and why. Why these trains pass Kellingley Colliery every day, carrying imported coal to Drax power station 7 miles down the road. And why the industry that sustained communities across our region for more than a century has been allowed to die. For these men, a way of life is disappearing. The end of a daily routine which took them from the locker room into the lamp room to collect their safety equipment.
Oh God, yeah. Shouldn't be happening. Should not be happening.
Then the short walk down to the shaft side, before descending 1/2 mile in the cage down to the pit bottom. And then a 5-mile or so journey to the coalface by manrider and this more unconventional transport. They leave with feelings of anger, frustration and disappointment in the knowledge that Kellingley still has at least 25 years of coal reserves underground. In its heyday, Big K employed 3,000 people and broke records for coal production. By today's closure, there were just 450 mine workers, management and contractors left. King Coal, killed off by cheaper imports, lack of investment, punishing carbon taxes on generating electricity from coal, and the drive to green energy.
Number 1 shaft and number 2 shaft to the side of us.
Like the remaining workforce at Kellingley, the manager, Sean McLaughlin, now has to find another job. How does it feel being the manager at Britain's last deep coal mine?
In some respects it's a privilege, and in other respects it's really sad. I started my mining career here in 1977 and I'm going to finish my mining career here, but we've achieved a lot at Kellingley. It is sad that we couldn't continue the good progress we've made over these last few years.
For 5 decades, millions of tons of coal have come off this conveyor belt, helping to keep the lights on and keep our homes warm. But this afternoon, the wheels of the coal-face machine were stopped, and by tomorrow, this conveyor belt will come to a grinding halt, bringing an end to deep coal mining across our region and the UK. Soon the site on which Kellingley stands will be cleared and the colliery consigned to history. For those who worked at the pit, the memories will last for the rest of their lives. The question is, will future generations remember the days when coal was king? David Hurst, ITV News at Kellingley Colliery.
Well, joining us live at Kellingley tonight is Chris Kitchen, the General Secretary of the N.U.M in Yorkshire. First of all, your thoughts this evening?
Sadness and disappointment. Disappointment that we couldn't save the mine, couldn't save the men's jobs. It's just a devastating blow to an area, and it's just more than, you know, a single pit closure and 450 men losing their jobs. It's the end of a way of life, and it's a needless waste.
How are the miners that you've spoken to since the pit closed this afternoon?
I think they're bearing up well. They're good at hiding the feelings. They're uncertain to the future, and even though we've had 18 months to prepare for it, you can never really prepare for something like this.
I suppose now it's looking forward to the future for the men and for this community. Retraining, regeneration, I mean, is that realistic?
It's realistic. The problem is you can retrain the men, you know, the bright lads, the well qualified, the skilled workforce. The trouble is, where's the jobs that they're going to go to when they've done the retraining?
Yes, the money needs to be put into this area to give them those jobs. Well, Yvette Cooper, the MP for Pontefract, Castleford and Normanton, she's been talking about betrayal. She says it's completely the wrong decision. Shall we hear what she has to say today?
I don't think it makes sense for us to just be more and more dependent on imported coal. And I think we should have been backing clean coal technology. That's what we wanted at Drax. The government's pulled the plug on that. And so I think we should have had a big proper plan for our energy policy, which could have included keeping Kellingley going for longer, keeping Ferrybridge open for longer, and supporting the clean coal technology we needed.
It's all a big mistake. They've made the wrong choices, the wrong decisions.
They have. There could have been a future for coal. It would have been a secure, affordable supply of energy. It would have kept British miners in a job. Instead, we're going to be importing coal from Russia and Colombia under the guise of, you know, it's better to tackle climate change. I just can't work out how it's better to import coal from Russia, Colombia and America and burn it here instead of mining it here.
Tomorrow there's going to be a huge march from Nottingley Town Hall up to the Welfare Club. How many miners are expected to take part and what will it symbolise?
It'll symbolise that we're not defeated. It's to commemorate that, you know, Kellingley was here. It's provided good paid employment for 50 years, and it's to mark the closure. Not celebrate it obviously, but it's something that we need to do.
Chris Kitchen, thanks very much indeed for joining us tonight. Well, let's go over to Duncan, who's gone inside. Let's join him there.
Christine, thank you. Yes, these are the names of those people who were on that last shift. This is where they clocked off and made the journey out from the coalface. We're going to take you into the lamp room just now. This is where the lads will have left their mining pit lamps for the last time. In fact, Katie Oscroft has been following those on the last shift.
In darkness and with a heavy heart, Andrew Robinson arrived for his last day as a miner after 35 years. The men at Kellingley were playing their part in history, but at the same time saying goodbye to friends.
A bit empty inside. Obviously,
But in one sense, we being the last day, a lot of pride, because obviously it's the last opportunity to see some of these guys, and some fantastic guys I've worked with over the years at this colliery.
Beneath this land lie more than 200 million tonnes of coal, over 800 yards down.
The shafts of the Kellingley super pit were sunk in 1959.
But soon, in full production, the coal from Kellingley will flow like a black river for the rest of this century and beyond.
But the Black River of coal stopped flowing today, soon after the last shift made its way down what used to be Britain's biggest mine. Many, like Andrew Robinson, who's also a trustee of the miners' welfare, thought Big K would be there for their lifetime.
I honestly thought, as you would as a young man, that this wouldn't have happened to me. I probably had to sit my career out and retire. But unfortunately, I have a shortfall. I'm 51. And it's frightening, the prospect of going out there and looking for other work and whatever, but I'll do my best, and I'm sure there'll be an employer who might take me on, and you've got to move on, and you've got to be positive.
But in the cold light of day, others on the last shift have a sense of disbelief.
Drax power station is 7 miles away from our gates. And it beggars belief that you can transport it from all the way around the world, and the government will allow that to happen, and we can transport it 7 miles down the road.
We are the last deep mine, so it's the end of an era. You know, coal powered the Industrial Revolution, the miners helped the country during World War II, you know, producing everything.
The end of the shift, when it came, brought memories and emotional goodbyes.
I'm not going to see the guys who I've spent most of my life with. I've probably spent more time with them than the family, because 8 and 12 hour shifts, they become a part of your family. And they're a great bunch of guys. Well, I couldn't have had a better life in that respect about the people I just admire.
Are you going to see your family today?
No, absolutely, yeah, because they're the most important thing ever.
What were you going to say to them about today?
I love them to bits, and I'll be there and I'll be providing, and we'll have a Christmas, whatever happens.
A difficult day is over, the end of a once powerful and important industry, and of a bond between men who have spent their entire working lives together. Katie Oscroft, ITV News.
So, how have we reached this day? Well, many will point to the economical reasons behind pit closures. Cheaper foreign coal, the country's energy policy for the future. Well, all have their place, but the mining communities of Yorkshire and beyond still reckon the bitter strike in the mid-1980s, when the government took on the N.U.M, was the turning point, and trade unions would never be the same again.
Of the 20th century, and 30 years on, its effects are still being felt.
The National Executive Committee declare the proposed strike action in Yorkshire.
The strike against planned pit closures began in Yorkshire, but soon spread, with backing from the National Union of Mine Workers.
I am not in the business of accepting a rundown in this industry, the closure of pits.
But many miners in Nottinghamshire refused to join the dispute without a ballot. Pickets were dispatched to pits where men were still working. The government responded by drafting in hundreds of extra police officers from all over the country. To some former miners like these here in Goldthorpe in South Yorkshire, those who worked through the strike, the scabs as they call them, will never be forgiven.
Even today, there's still families that don't speak through it. It's that strong. It meant that much.
It is in your community, Goldthorpe. I think it's stronger there than anywhere else. You know, as regards these scabs and that. They've still got names on board, haven't you?
Yeah.
The biggest confrontation took place at the Orgreave coking plant near Rotherham, a clash which has become known as the Battle of Orgreave. Arthur Scargill himself was arrested.
1984, Great Britain.
This isn't.
But Michael Heseltine says he can understand the bitterness felt by coalfield communities towards the Conservative government of the time. Here on strike, though, as miners began drifting back to work, the strike was called off, with still no new agreement on managing pit closures. Today, though, 30 years on, Arthur Scargill insists the miners didn't lose the economic argument for coal.
We're an industry that's been destroyed politically, not economically.
And the former miners' leader still believes something will rise from the ashes of the industry.
we go from setback, defeat, to ultimate victory. And in my view, that ultimate victory will be, in the not too distant future, a rethink about the energy industry, and that will reopen pits and develop new pits.
The deep mine pits may have gone then, but the arguments over the battles fought to save them continue. Grace Melody Gardner, ITV News.
Anne Scargill, the women's rights campaigner and former wife of the miners' leader Arthur Scargill, and from the Truth and Justice campaign for the miners arrested at Orgreave, John Dunn, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. And first of all, what's it like for you standing so close to the pit shafts now, knowing what's happened today?
I'm really, it's a sad day today for all miners, and it's 31 years since that we've struggled on, and this has had to happen, and it is a sad, sad day.
And all those years ago, we saw you form Women Against Pit Closures, and we saw the women campaigning, fighting so hard. It changed everything, didn't it, for women in this community, as well as the whole community itself?
Well, my community got changed altogether because, you know, miners were male chauvinists, and there are a lot of miners' wives in my community that only went out with their wives, and they had to have their dinner on the table when they came in. And when Thatcher came to power, we knew that there was something going to happen. So obviously we started to organise things, and then you get Thatcher there thinking, oh, they'll go back to work, but she got the job.
She did.
She found out that the miners' wives were real people, and we were all together. We fought, we organised, and when the men were getting arrested on the picket line, we went in their places. I mean, the police were terrible to us. I mean, I got strip searched with the police, which I'll never ever forget.
Well, let's bring in John. I mean, there were a tremendous support to you, the women, throughout the strike. But what's your thinking tonight? 31 years on.
Well, it's a mixture of sadness, but also anger. This week we've had the government voting through fracking. We're told we've got an energy shortage. There'll be 50 million tonnes of coal coming from Russia and Colombia, where it's mined by 10, 12, 11-year-old kids. And here we're talking about the death of a long-standing, proud industry that's served this country through wars, through everything. And for me, it's a mixture of sadness but anger.
And obviously, in relation to the Battle of Orgreave, this week a development in that Theresa May is considering an inquiry into police conduct there. You must be very pleased at that development.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath for a Tory government to give us a fair hearing, but what the Orgreave campaign is doing is campaigning to get all the wrongs that happened in that strike, not just Orgreave, but the terrible violence, the lies, everything that was thrown at us, of which you can step back in time 31 years and march it straight through to today, and this is the legacy of that strike.
And briefly, Anne, what will this community be like after today here at Kellingley?
Well, there's nothing left. There's no jobs. And in my community, I can speak, when I'm 30 years on, we're still getting people who have not got jobs. And I don't know what they're going to do.
OK, well, we've got to leave it there. Anne and John, thank you so much for coming and joining us here live at Kellingley tonight.
Well, this is a pair of boots that was left at the gate today, and as you can see, there's the date that the miner who left them started in 1982 and the date that he left today. Very poignant symbol. They've allowed us to use it. We've got to put them back at the gate, though, after this. It was coming to the surface here. Kellingley's pitmen of the past were gathering just a few miles away at the Big K Social Club in Nottingley for their festive lunch.
Today was, of course, a sad one, as Chris Kiddie now reports, for all those with a connection to the pit. But the party did try to spread a little Christmas cheer.
Their numbers dwindle every year, but still today 140 former pitmen and their wives and guests sat down to eat at the Kellingley Social Club. This kind of gathering used to be commonplace, but not anymore.
There's only 3 now in the country, retired members' teas, Kellingley being one of them. But you know, the part of the community spirit that built up round the pit.
The food, a full 3-course Christmas lunch, was cooked and served up by a small army of volunteers.
If you need to help out, you need to help out, don't you? And today's a sad day, but so hopefully it's not the last Christmas dinner that we'll be doing for any of miners.
A speech from the president of the Train Drivers Union, ASLEF, harked back to the pit strike of 30 years ago.
I'm so proud still, and our members are still so proud, even those who come into the industry after the miners' strike, they're still proud of that history, that we've not one shovel full of coal moved by train during that 12 months.
But above all, this was a time for former miners and their partners to reflect on a momentous day.
It's a good time to be had here with the amateur old work friends, but now it's a bit sad today because of the closure of the mine. Sad day today, but always knew it was going to come.
I think they ought to have cancelled this. But everybody's here enjoying themselves, and the other side at town, they're just sad and misery, isn't it?
They raised the glass to the memory of Kellingley. Pit or no pit though, many hope to be back here again next year. Chris Giddy, ITV News, Nottingham.
Well, that's Friday night's calendar on the day that the last deep mine pit in the whole country, Kellingley Colliery, closed.
The last pit in Yorkshire, the last pit in the country. From everyone on calendar, a very good night.
Good night.
It's a bit like a bereavement in a family.
The last piece of coal at the Kellingley Colliery and the last deep mine pit in the country.
That's it, good night, Ian.